front page, and so this is kind of coming to the culmination. Our goal is to have things set up so that tonight in the council meeting, the full council member meeting, we can agree on the budget pieces, the numbers, and then vote and authorize the clerk to advertise that so we move towards the budget process. The good news is, the way we have set this up on our calendar, if for some reason there are questions and we can't get there, we have time. It may require a special call meeting later to fit it in before the, to get everything passed in time to execute on 1 July, but we do have time. So don't feel pressured into, we have to accomplish something tonight. I would like to. I think it's straightforward. We have some decisions to make, and then we'll roll those recommendations right into the budget process for this evening. If you will look at your selected projects, so as you remember, we went through, had our discretionary funding, we prioritized the items that council wanted to prioritize, we went down, then we racked and stacked those up and laid the discretionary funding against it. So what we're at today is, tonight is finalizing that piece. If you look on the front page, you're gonna see the projects that were selected by the council in the last work session for the discretionary spending. The one that's, on what I handed out to you, it didn't come out to your original one because it was just a oversight on my part, is that police department truck on the bottom. So that totals up to our total discretionary funding on the bottom. We do have a change in our revenue projection, and that is ComSource, due to federal funding cuts on someone that they were going to bring in to handle the medical side of the building. That organization backed out because of the funding cuts under some of the federal and the stall and all that stuff. ComSource is still leasing the building, is their plan, but they're just gonna lease the new side. But that number you see there, that minus 25 is the revenue difference between had they leased the whole building, buys half the building. So if you go to this next page, again, I just have, we've seen this before, very familiar, we just kind of have the savings up at the top so you have an idea what that is. If you'll remember last time, our original, when we met with the finance committee, our original recommendation for the Virginia Department of Corrections refund was $100,000 to town saving, $100,000 to water sewers, capital improvement savings side, $100,000 towards the fire truck, future purchase of a fire truck, which was kind of set for 28. And then we would have had some dollars left over for some additional projects in there. The committee recommended a change in the compensation package at the last meeting. And that change in the compensation package has changed the recommendation. So what we've lost, the other thing that was in that was prior to the change was $15,000, an additional additional dollars going to the Chatham Volunteer Fire Department. So the town council through the process allocated $15,000, and then we were going to take some of that extra and roll that back in there to get them up to about $40,000 on their total operating budget contribution from the town. With that last recommendation on compensation change, we have a choice. That $15,000 can come out, and or that original $20,000 that we're going to put in there comes out, and we are back to just the $15,000 that was originally prioritized for the Chatham Volunteer Fire Department, or we have some other options with that Virginia Department of Corrections refund. If you look at that bottom four sentences there, we could take one of those, again, those three line items to say savings to town, savings to water sewer, savings to the fire truck. We could take one of those, I would say water or town, change that, reduce that to $75,000. That gets you back to your additional $15,000 back into the Chatham Volunteer Fire Department, which gets them up to that $40K that we originally talked about. And then you have $15,000 to put towards other projects. Or you could just add the 15. Or you could just keep it at 85 into the savings. You know, you can lay it any way you want to with that, but you do have, that's what we have that room to move around.
Questions for Mr. Morris? All good. Ms. Scott, the presentation's all good.
Question on the medical center with the change, you said the reduction, is that just going to stay vacant, that section?
That side will stay vacant until, I mean, it just falls under the town, coverage. But it'll stay vacant until they either, because they'll have an option to purchase, it's built into their lease, so if they buy it, then they can do whatever, or if they, you know, maybe the funding comes back and that other, party is ready to get back into the.
Will maintenance still be covered by this?
Not on that empty part, that'll be our responsibility.
Okay.
But they'll have the maintenance on their two sides in the, communal areas.
I mean, outside.
Outside, yes, other than, we'll break it down where we'll have that 1/3, piece will still follow on us. We're the owners of it, until we get someone in there.
Will you actively seek that?
Huh?
Will you actively seek that?
Oh, yes. We can already get them in there now, so.
No, I wouldn't.
Could we possibly take 5,000 of the 15 for Chatham Rescue and put that 5,000 into the fire department?
So take Chatham Rescue to 10. Whatever your pleasure.
I'll concur with that, because, I mean, the fire department does, it's underneath the town of Chandler. The, reservoir technically is separate entity, so I'm okay with that.
And can we take 5,000 from Silas Moore and give it to the Chatham Fire Department?
If we pull it off Silas Moore, remember that's a cost share on a $40,000 paving and rebuild of that parking lot. With the lowest bid we have on that is $38,900, and the highest bid was $43,500.
Okay.
So that one spot we're trying to maximize cost share dollars.
And, sorry, I got here late. The, at the bottom, medical center lease reduced.
So they, due to federal funding cuts, they had a doctor that was coming in and was gonna take the other side of, work with ComSource on the other side. That funding got cut through the budget cuts that are going on right now. So that individual pulled out right now. ComSource is still leasing their portion of it, where they're gonna have their offices and, services, but now it's just half the side instead of that full side. That's the difference between the two, lease.
I was wondering why the contract language changed in that part, though, so that explains it. What we will review at the 6:30 hearing.
Correct. So do we want to keep, recommendations on the, refund where it was originally? Do we want to, we got to make one adjustment somewhere in there. How do we want to do it? Because remember originally had that 15,000 for the fire department in there, with the recommendation for the,
Well, I mean, the thing is though, when it comes to savings, I mean, you have $100,000, according to this here, you have $100,000 for the town savings, I'm assuming that's really for the general fund, you're referring to
Correct.
general fund there? And the water sewer savings is, of course, the water sewer for $100,000 though. I mean, my view is though, we try not to interfere